Welcome everyone who has found this channel as I ramble to my familiar mango about goblins today. Are you ready to hear about random goblins?
Yeah, I'm always ready to hear.
Good. So, what's your first thought whenever you think about goblins?
Generally considered one of the weaker fantasy races, usually useless by themselves and only win by overwhelming numbers.
That is correct. You also forgot that they often fall into like ugly cute category. It's always good to have a couple of them around, if nothing else, because you can throw them and they will, throw themselves at your enemies for basically table scraps. You can pay them in whatever. They're free.
Take them home in your pocket.
Yes. I mean, look at this man. Does this man look like he wants a 401k?
I'm not entirely sure he knows what a 4 is.
Exactly. So you were correct in that they are very much an attack in numbers type of creature. Their society is usually tribal, chaotic, and they'll have like weird superstitions that if you can figure those out, you can often just, run over them. So downside, they often have a temper, fight amongst themselves, outsiders, their pets. They either fall into like two categories of being either extremely intuitive in building things, or they just stack and nail wood together until they have something that maybe functions. Either way, whatever they build will likely either explode, fall apart, or kill more goblins than they will of the enemy.
Efficiency, one way or the other.
Yes. They'll appear in a variety of settings, often using one or more of the stereotypes of themselves. Oblivion goblins fall into the tribal, aggressive style goblin where you've got a bunch of different tribes and they all fight in the background. And if you pay attention, you'll come across different goblin tribes. Different goblin tribes will have different shamans, different leaders, so on and so forth. And you can actually influence who's winning in the goblin war. Just a generic Oblivion goblin.
Handsome fellow.
Very. And he's inside a house. Is that his house? Probably not.
I would wager not.
But he is there. And in order for that to become your house once again, you do have to remove him because he does not believe in property rights unless it's his. They are very much a background cave and ruin haunting type of creature. Moving on to Dragon's Dogma goblins, they are kind of just littered everywhere.
Anybody who ice and fire both.
What's that?
Their kind hate ice and fire both.
That is true. They don't like being cold and they don't like being too warm. They are also just everywhere. You cannot go 5 steps without stumbling across a goblin. And if given the chance, and they think they can, they will call more of themselves. They are, in fact, like the stereotypical weak on their own. But I will get 10 of my buddies and we will try to jump you.
One has to be careful traveling around Grances.
Moving on to what I consider like the game version of this is the generic goblin, the D&D goblin. They do, one of the first things you can see there is they are not necessarily green skinned. Sometimes it's a waxy yellow. Always it is like this discolored, vaguely yellow, green, brown shades. They're more often than not the funny little guy style goblins. Very much a crude weapons, crude armor, if any armor. Send a bunch of dudes to beat you up and steal your shit.
Miniature bandits.
A little bit. Most of the time you will find like each tribe will also have superstitions and those can often be used to advantage. But yeah, no, they are very much stereotypical, chaotic, tribal, thieving goblins that will more often than not just be little shits unless they are either controlled by somebody stronger, which is fairly easy. All you have to do is show up to the tribe, beat a couple of them up and be like, you work for me now. Or you will find that like a couple of individual goblins are actually not horrible people, but even still don't expect table manners. expect them to be like, huh, maybe we shouldn't eat the baby. Maybe if we trade, I can improve my standard of living. And they'll offer you like their favorite lint ball and be like, can I have a chicken bone? And you'll be like, okay.
Excellent trade value.
Yes. Often a goblin's first trade is belly lint for chicken bone. It is a canon event in every young goblin male's life. Moving on to Zelda, and like, I'm kind of just throwing these guys into the goblin category because tell me this isn't a goblin. Like, this is absolutely just, we're not calling it a goblin, but look at that man.
No, but I mean, his name ends in oblin. I feel like it counts.
Yeah, he's naked, he has big ears, he's got a pig nose, and he's got a giant club. That man there just looks like he's ready to get mobbed by a main character. They don't have much outside of just being, Ganon's foot troops. The thing that he can throw in ever larger numbers at whatever he thinks could use a couple of them. And until a Link shows up, they tend to do the job. I'm sure they, perish in large numbers, but they probably take quite a few of whatever guards or anybody else is around down with them. And like one of the things with goblins in general is they breed a lot. Like, They have the rabbit. They are running rabbit outbreed the danger on an extremely predatory hardware. And I feel like the Bokoblin is going to be one of those where it's just like, if it's not fighting, it's breeding. If it's not fighting or eating, it's breeding. And I'm not even sure that it distinguishes eating from the other activities. Look at that man. Look into his eyes.
He just wants a hug.
And he will have his hug.
I feel like you're talking about a different kind of goblin there.
Moving on to the Pathfinder Goblin. These are absolutely little psychopaths. Like, if I was gonna put that title on any particular portrayal of the goblin, it has to be these guys.
Certainly all they do is tie your shoelaces together.
Would you like to read their song?
I get the feeling I don't want to know what they sing about.
Here you go.
No, this is just a song. That's like saying any other band wants to hurt you because they talk about not liking society. It's fine.
It's fine. No choice lyrics about their society. These are obviously the counterculture revolutionaries of their.
Yeah, they're just it's.
They do have.
I mean, you can't prove that they intend to harm others.
They do have two favored weapons. Do you want to know what they're called? They are the horse chopper and the dog slicer. The horse chopper is a larger dog slicer.
Well, I mean, horses are just big dogs, right?
Yes.
That math's out.
If I remember correctly, they do have, like, a fear of dogs, which is why they just, murder any of them they find.
Like the ATF.
Yes. They have a fear of dogs, but they do have an affinity for rats. And they have a tendency of mutating rats into, like, whatever they kind of need. So what's kind of funny is you've got what is called the goblin dog.
Oh, yeah. That's not nightmare fuel.
Would you pet it? Pet it with
at
your
least
trophy?
Once, if it would let me.
They are kind of like what you'd get if you mixed like a Dutch Hound in terms of, speed and agility. Very much running style dogs with the personality of baby eating pit bull. Because the goblins will ride them. But if that goblin falls off, he will also become that thing's meal.
I was wondering if that was going to be the case once you said they ride them.
Yes, it is very much a ride at your own peril. And these things are like, they're not that big. Mm-hmm. They're, like I said, about the size of a greyhound. So you got to think like at max, they might come up to like thigh height. But remember, Pathfinder goblins are like the size of a small child.
Yeah. Well, maybe my shoelaces are safe after all.
Maybe. You just gotta remember how vicious they are before they get up within like arm's reach. You can't just be like, it's small, it's not gonna be a problem, and then it comes up to you and it bites you with its razor teeth.
That sounds like a problem for terrestrial creatures.
And then we move into the two flavors of anime goblins. And these were kind of at your recommendation here. So we have the reincarnated as a slime goblin,
Friendly folks.
which they kind of fall into the anime trap to me of these are just green people.
Well, they are demi-human.
That's fair. And, you know, they are still tribal, rely on strength in numbers and their ability to outbreed the problem. But they don't seem, and you can correct me here, they don't seem inherently hostile to anything in its general area.
No, mostly scared, really.
And like I said, they kind of just fall in the category to me of this is a green person.
It most certainly is, especially after they meet that weird blue fellow.
Meanwhile, there's the other flavor of anime goblin, also recommended to me by you, the Goblin Slayer goblins.
Well, you know, you have to hit both sides of the spectrum.
To me, these goblins are made by people who get tired of their favorite Daojin always being ugly bastards.
What a horrifying sentence to have to comprehend.
Am I wrong?
I didn't say you were wrong. I just said it was a horrifying sentence to comprehend. A terrible day to have yours, if you will.
So, like, we have the duality here of green person versus absolutely sadistic rape monsters.
Yeah, episode 1 went viral for a reason.
They do get murdered in absolute drove. And the one thing that I can kind of give the Goblin Slayer goblins is they do give that like level 1 character who's just like, it's a goblin. Every person in the tavern talks about how many goblins they've murdered. And then you know, that level 1 character goes up thinking it's going to be nothing. And suddenly there's now 5 goblins and you're unconscious and the goblin is now doing whatever it wants. I was gonna bring up Warhammer goblins, but like I feel we could do just an entire video on like Warhammer Fantasy greenskins in general, because they are just all kind of connected. So I think we can save that for a later date. I hope you enjoyed being rambled at.
Yeah, it's always nice to learn something new.
Do you have anything to add?
I think it's safe to say if you're the average adventurer, it's probably better to turn around if you see one of these on the side of the road.
A little bit. There are very few creatures where you will see them go from brutally murdering a family to trying to dress up in that family's daughter's clothes without any idea that, you know, this is just little girl's clothes. And like you can find them in funny situations like that, you know, randomly out fighting goblins, and you come across like 5 of them that all just were playing dress up in some poor family's clothes, and you don't have the context. You just see 3 goblins in frilly pink, blue, and yellow dresses.
Yeah.
And you gotta think, like, why, when everyone else here is dressed in, like, barely held together rags and leathers, why are they wearing a dress?
It's Fashion Week.
Yes. Alright, so I think that will finish up my ramblings on the goblins and why they are fun. Why we, against all logic and reason, kinda like them. If you liked the video, do the YouTube things. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me your favorite goblin, and I will post another video soon. Goodbye.